Peppa Pig, the fire engine. Mummy Pig is going to the fire engine practice. Good excuse for a chat, says Daddy Pig. I have a very important meeting and a barbecue with the Daddy's football team. Mummy Pig, Peppa and George arrive at Miss Rabbit's fire station. Wow! gasped Peppa, seeing the big red fire engine. Badminton! giggles George. Daddy Pig and his friends are playing football and having a barbecue in the garden. Oh dear, the barbecue has turned into a fire. Daddy Pig rings the fire station. The fire phone is ringing. Hello, Daddy Pig, answers Miss Rabbit. This phone is only for when there's a fire, shouts Daddy Pig. We'll be right there, replies Miss Rabbit. Mummy's to the rescue, cries Miss Rabbit, sliding down the fire pole. Hold tight, cries Mummy Pig. Whee! laughs Peppa. The fire engine is ready to go. Peppa, George and the mummies soon find the barbecue and get their water hose out. Stand back, daddies, cries Miss Rabbit. The water comes spurting out the hose. Hooray! cheer all the daddies when the fire is out. Thank you for saving us, says Daddy Pig. No problem, replies Miss Rabbit. It's all part of a service. Now that Miss Rabbit has flooded the garden, says Daddy Pig, we can jump up and down in muddy puddles. I love fire engines, says Peppa, especially when they make muddy puddles. The end. Peppa Pig and the Little Train. Peppa and George are visiting Granny and Grandpa Pig. Bang, crash, bang, bang. What's that noise? asked Peppa. Grandpa Pig is building a surprise for you, says Granny Pig. Toot toot. Come out, Grandpa, shouts Peppa. We want to see the surprise. Grandpa Pig drives the surprise out of the shed. Oh, it's a toy train, says Peppa. Vroom, says George. It is not a toy, says Grandpa. This is Gertrude. She's a miniature locomotive. Peppa and George like the little train. Can we go for a ride? asked Peppa. All aboard, says Grandpa Pig. Grandpa Pig's little train doesn't need railroad tracks. It has tires. The train climbs up the hill. Peppa sings. Grandpa's little train goes tug, 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 tug. Grandpa's little train goes tug, 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 all through the town. Hello, Peppa, calls Danny. Ahoy there, says Grandad Dog. I see you're playing toy trains. Gertrude isn't a toy, says Grandpa Pig. She's a miniature locomotive. How's your little truck? My truck is a work vehicle, says Grandad Dog. Can I ride on the train? asked Danny. Well, if you'd rather play trains...
Thanks, Grandad,
says Danny. The little train stops. There's another vehicle in the road. It's Miss Rabbit. She is taking some students on a bus tour. I like your toy train, says Miss Rabbit.
It's not a toy,
says Peppa.
it's a miniature locomotive.
Peppa's school friends are on the bus. They like Grandpa's little train. They want a ride too.
Who wants to ride on Grandpa Pig's little train?
says Miss Rabbit.
I do.
Shouts Susie.
Me too.
Me too, all the others. Zoe leads the way. The others follow. Everybody sings.
Grandpa's little train goes chug, 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 chug. Grandpa's little train goes chug, 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 all through the town.
Grandpa Pig stops at the playground. Peppa goes down the slide. Grandpa goes down the slide too. Back on the train, Grandpa sees Miss Rabbit's bus again. What happened? The bus is stuck in the mud. Grandad Dog tries to pull the bus from the mud. He pulls and pulls, but the bus won't budge. Oh no! Don't worry, says Grandpa Pig. This little train can help. Grandpa Pig hooks a rope to the bus. Chug, chug, pull, pull. The bus is free. Beep, beep. There's a nice big muddy puddle left behind. Everyone puts on their boots. It's time to jump.
Thank you, Grandpa Pig.
The end. Peppa Pig. This book is all about Peppa Pig.
That's me.
Peppa lives with Mummy and Daddy Pig and her little brother George, and with Goldie, Teddy and Mr. Dinosaur.
Dinosaur.
At playgroup, Madame Gazelle teaches Peppa and her friends. They paint, play, sing, and do lots of fun things.
Hooray!
Peppa likes dressing up as everything. But her favourite thing to do is jump in muddy puddles. Peppa loves spending time with her granny and grandpa, especially dinner time.
Yummy, my favourite.
Sometimes Peppa has so much fun she doesn't want to go to bed.
This is the best book ever.
But she always enjoys a bedtime story. The end. Peppa Pig. Level 1. Fun with old things. Picture words. Peppa, George, Mummy Pig, Miss Rabbit, Daddy Pig, Truck, Mr. Bull, old things. Newspapers, rubbish, bottles, and cans. Mr. Bull is coming for the rubbish. Mr. Bull puts the rubbish in his truck. Peppa, George and Mummy Pig put some old things in boxes. They put bottles in the green box and cans in the blue box. They put newspapers in the red box. Now people can make new bottles, cans and newspapers, says Mummy Pig. They put the boxes in the car. Mummy Pig has got the bottles. Peppa has got the cans. George has got the newspapers. Miss Rabbit has got some old cars. Now they can make new cars, she says. Now they can make new bottles, says Daddy Pig. Now they can make new cans, says Mummy Pig. Now they can make new newspapers, says Daddy Pig. Stop, says Daddy Pig. You cannot make a new car with our car. Our car is not an old thing. Oh, says Miss Rabbit. I like my job too much. And we like our car too, says Peppa. The end. Peppa Pig Canal Boat. Today, Peppa and George are visiting the dog family to celebrate Captain Dog's birthday. His cake has a sailing boat decoration on it. Open your present, says Mummy Dog. It's a boat trip, says Captain Dog. That's just what I wanted. Captain Dog puts on his captain's hat and daydreams about their trip. You can go anywhere you want with a sailing boat, says Captain Dog. He imagines sailing to a beautiful tropical island. Then Captain Dog imagines spotting a big blue whale from his sailing boat. He can't wait for the adventure to begin.
Wow!
All aboard! Cries Captain Dog. He tries to raise the sail, but he can't see it anywhere. Canal boats do not have sails. Just push the button to make it start, says Mummy Dog. Oh, I see. Off we go, says Captain Dog. Captain Dog decides to go faster. You should slow down, says Mummy Dog. They are getting close to a mountain. Look out, shouts Peppa. We're going to crash. No, we're going into the tunnel, says Mummy Dog calmly. It is exciting inside the tunnel.
Wow!
It's gone all dark, gasped Danny. And our voices sound funny, says Peppa. This canal boat is fun after all, says Captain Dog. Soon they approach a second mountain. There must be another tunnel, says Captain Dog. Actually, we're going over it this time, says Mummy Dog. We call this a lock. Carefully, Captain Dog stops the boat. Watch, I'll show you, says Mummy Dog. She opens up the gates to the lock. And Captain Dog drives the boat in. Then Mummy Dog closes the lock gates and lets the water pour in slowly from the other side.
We're going up,
gasped Peppa. The boat is lifted up as the lock fills with water. Mummy Dog opens the gates and Captain Dog drives the boat out of the lock.
We're in the sky,
Shouts Peppa.
we're sailing over a bridge,
Says Danny. I've sailed through the mountains and across the sky, says Captain Dog. This is my best birthday ever. The end. Peppa Pig, Peppa and her golden boots. It was the day of the big puddle jumping competition. Peppa and her friends were practicing jumping up and down in muddy puddles.
My daddy always wins,
Boasted Peppa.
He said the first rule of puddle jumping is to wear your boots, and mine are very special because they are made of gold.
They are not gold, replied Susie Sheep.
They're yellow.
They are not yellow, they're real plastic gold, protested Peppa. Would anyone like some orange juice? Called Mummy Pig from the house. Yes, please, replied everyone. They ran inside, leaving their boots outside the front door. When Peppa and her friends had finished their juice, they headed outside to put on their boots.
Oh no, my boots have gone,
sobbed Peppa. Mr. Zebra arrived with the post. I've just seen a duck with boots on, he said. Peppa sniffed.
Were they gold?
No, yellow, he replied. His duck came running down the hill wearing Peppa's golden boots. Peppa ran after her.
Mrs. Duck, can I please have my boots back, please?
But Mrs. Duck did not want to give Peppa's boots back. She didn't stop running until she reached Captain Dog's boat. No one could stop Mrs. Duck. She leapt into the water and swam away. Captain Dog started his engine. I think my boat can go faster than that duck, he exclaimed. But Captain Dog's boat could not keep up with Mrs. Duck. That's a fast duck, he said. Mrs. Duck finally stopped at a little island where Grampy Rabbit had been shipwrecked when his boat capsized.
Mrs. Duck has my boots and she won't give them back, Peppa called.
Don't worry, Peppa, replied Grampy Rabbit. Mrs. Duck has nowhere to go. But then Mrs. Duck started flying and she was still wearing the boots.
Oh no, cried Peppa. Mrs. Duck is flying to the moon with my boots.
Don't worry, Peppa, said Grampy Rabbit, pointing to the neighbouring island. We'll take my rocket.
I really don't think Peppa's boots will be on the moon, said Mummy Pig.
Nonsense, insisted Grampy Rabbit, helping everyone into the rocket. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, blast off! On the moon, Peppa and her friends searched everywhere for Mrs. Duck and the golden boots.
Let's ask at the shop,
suggested Susie Sheep. You don't get shops on the moon, exclaimed Daddy Pig.
Postcards,
called Mrs. Rabbit from inside her gift shop.
ice cream, buckets and spades.
Meanwhile, Grandpa Pig had spotted Mrs. Duck in his garden. Those aren't your boots, are they? He asked. He quickly dialed Daddy Pig's number. Oh, hello, Grandpa Pig, said Daddy Pig. Yes, Peppa has lost some boots. We'll be right there. Next stop, Grandpa Pig's garden, announced Grampy Pig. Peppa bounced excitedly out of the rocket. My boots, my golden boots, she exclaimed. Thank you, Grandpa. Grandpa Pig helped Peppa to put her boots on. Now we can go to the puddle jumping competition, said Mammy Pig. Oh, yes, agreed Daddy Pig. We'd better hurry. The big puddle jumping competition was about to begin. First up, Daddy Pig, cried Mr. Potato. Daddy Pig took a giant leap and made a very big splash. Then it was Mr. Elephant's turn, and Mr. Elephant made an even bigger splash. Mr. Elephant is the winner, announced Mr. Potato. Peppa cleared her throat. Please, can I have a go too? She asked. Oh, of course, replied Mr. Potato. And can all of my friends help? Peppa added. Mr. Elephant was not pleased. Hang on, I don't think that's really... It sounds perfectly fair to me, interrupted Daddy Pig. Peppa and her friends formed a circle and held hands. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, they all chanted. Jump! Whee! Peppa and her friends made the biggest splash ever. Peppa and her friends are the winners, declared Mr. Potato. I still think, began Mr. Elephant. Hooray! Everyone cheered loudly. Peppa loved her golden boots. Everyone loved their boots. And everyone loved the big puddle jumping competition. The end. Peppa Pig, Daddy Pig's office. Today, as a special treat, Peppa and George are visiting Daddy Pig's office. Daddy, what do you do at your office all day? Asked Peppa. Lots of fun things, replies Daddy Pig. We're here, he tells the children as they arrive at a very tall building. Hello, says Daddy Pig into the intercom. Hello, Daddy Pig, says a voice. Can I press the button? Peppa asks. Of course, Peppa, Daddy replies. My office is at the top. We have to go up in the lift, Daddy Pig tells the children. Can I press the button? Asks Peppa excitedly. I think it's George's turn. Press the top button, please, George, says Daddy Pig. The lift takes him to the top floor. Hello, everyone, grunts Daddy Pig. Hello, say Mr. Rabbit and Mrs. Cat. They work with Daddy Pig. I have two very special visitors with me today, Peppa and George, says Daddy Pig. Let's begin a tour, suggests Daddy Pig. Mr. Rabbit, can we start at your desk? We certainly can, replies Mr. Rabbit. My job is all about numbers. I take important pieces of paper and stamp them with a rubber stamp, Mr. Rabbit tells him. Wow, gasp the children. Peppa likes stamping paper. On with the tour. Next is Mrs. Cat's desk, exclaims Daddy Pig. Hello, Peppa and George, says Mrs. Cat. Meow. My job is all about drawing shapes on a computer. Can I try? Asked Peppa. I think it's George's turn, says Daddy Pig. Yes, it's your turn to work, George, says Peppa. Agrees George. Mrs. Cat helps George to make lots of blue triangles. Now we print the triangles out, Peppa cries. The printer spits out sheets of paper everywhere. George and Peppa think it's hilarious. Do you want to see my desk? Daddy Pig asks. Yes, please, says Peppa. Daddy Pig's job is very important. Do you use stamps or a computer? asks Peppa. No, replies Daddy Pig. I use coloured pens. Peppa and George love colouring pens. George is drawing a dinosaur. George always draws dinosaurs, says Peppa, bored. Dinosaur, says George. Ding, ding! The office clock has just chimed. My goodness, 5 o'clock already, says Daddy Pig. It is time for Peppa, George and Daddy to go home. You've been doing my job very well, snorts Daddy Pig. I like doing Mr. Rabbit's job and I like doing Mrs. Cat's job, but I like doing your job the best, Daddy, says Peppa. Peppa and George have had an excellent day at Daddy Pig's office. The Recorders. Peppa and her friends are at playgroup. Morning, children, says Madame Gazelle. Today we are going to play the recorder. Ooh, gasp the children, listening as Madame Gazelle plays a tune. Madame Gazelle hands a recorder to each of the children. Now, does anyone know how to play music on the recorder? She asks. You blow it like this, cries Peppa. That is not music, Peppa, says Madame Gazelle. That is a horrible noise. To make music, we must play in a way that sounds not horrible, suggests Danny Dog. Yes, Danny, says Madame Gazelle. Madame Gazelle tries to teach the children how to play Twinkle Twinkle Little Star on the recorder. Cover these little holes with your fingertips and blow, she says. The children play on the recorders. It's time for the children's parents to pick them up from playgroup. Remember, the most important thing when learning to play a musical instrument, says Madame Gazelle, is lots and lots of practice. Goodbye, Madame Gazelle, everyone calls. Sounds like someone is learning to play the recorder, says Daddy Pig. It's me, cries Peppa. Madame Gazelle said I have to practice lots. Oh, says Mummy Pig. Daddy Pig will help you while I do some work in another room. Susie Sheep is practicing the recorder at her house too. La la la, sings Mummy Sheep. Yes, that's it, Susie. Keep going. Danny is also practicing. Very good, Danny, says Captain Dog. How about we go out on my boat now? No, replies Danny. I have to keep trying until I get it right. Of course, says Captain Dog. Peppa and her friends have been practicing their recorders all week, and now it's time to do a concert for the parents. Welcome to our concert, parents, says Madame Gazelle. Ready, children? The children play Twinkle Twinkle Little Star together on their recorders. It is a very noisy concert. At the end of the concert, The parents give the children a big round of applause. Haven't the children worked hard? Says Madame Gazelle. Yes, replies Daddy Pig, and now it's over. It's strange to think it was only for a week of our lives. I want you to learn this next tune, says Madame Gazelle. She plays Mary Had a Little Lamb on her recorder. The children tried to copy her. Remember, go home and practice, 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 says Madame Gazelle. Peppa loves the recorder. Everyone loves the recorder. First words with Peppa Pig. Level 2. The best pet. Meet Peppa, Susie Sheep, Zoe Zebra, Pedro Pony, and Dr. Hamster. Learn are, brown, but, good, he, like, pretty, saw, say, she, this, what, who. Read toy monkey, tortoise, stick insect.
Wow!
Peppa has a pet fish.
I like the fish. She is a good fish,
Says Susie Sheep.
She's a pretty fish, Susie. She is the best pet,
Said Peppa. Pedro Pony has a pet stick insect.
Wow!
The stick insect is long and brown.
What a pretty pet,
Said Pedro.
He is the best pet.
Hooray!
Dr. Hamster will say who the best pets are.
I like all of the pets. All the pets are pretty,
Said Dr. Hamster.
but now I will say who the best pet is.
Dr. Hamster saw Peppa's pet.
What is this pet, Peppa?
Said Dr. Hamster.
She's a fish,
Said Peppa.
Will she win best pet? I like the pretty fish, but I will say who the best pet is soon,
Said Dr. Hamster. Dr. Hamster saw Pedro's pet.
What is this pet, Pedro?
Said Dr. Hamster.
He is a stick insect.
Said Pedro.
He is long and brown. Will he win best pet? This is a good pet, but I will say who the best pet is soon,
Said Dr. Hamster. Dr. Hamster saw Zoe's pet.
What is this pet, Zoe?
Said Dr. Hamster.
He is a monkey.
Said Zoe.
He is a brown toy monkey. Will he win best pet? I like this pretty pet, but I will say who the best pet is soon,
Said Dr. Hamster. Dr. Hamster saw all of the pets.
Who is the best pet? I like all of the pets that I saw, but the best pet is my pet tortoise,
Said Dr. Hamster.
And Peppa's fish is the best fish. She is a pretty fish,
Said Dr. Hamster.
What a good fish,
Said Peppa and Susie.
we like her. Zoe's monkey is the best brown toy monkey.
Said Dr. Hamster.
What a good monkey, said Zoe. I like this brown monkey a lot. Pedro's stick insect is the best stick insect. What a pretty brown pet,
Said Dr. Hamster.
what a good stick insect,
Said Pedro.
I like him a lot.
All of the pets are good pets. All of the pets are the best pets.
Hooray!
The end. Peppa Pig, Peppa's vegetable garden. Grandpa Pig is showing Peppa and George the fruit and vegetables growing in his garden.
Wow, Grandpa,
gasped Peppa.
you're like a real farmer. Can we be farmers too?
Of course, Peppa, says Grandpa Pig.
I'll help you grow food in your garden.
Are you ready to grow your own vegetables, farmers? Grandpa Pig asks. Yes, cheer Farmer Peppa and Farmer George. First, the farmers find sunny spots to plant their seeds. Then they make holes in the soil, pop the seeds in, and cover them with the soil.
Now we must water the seeds,
explains Grandpa Pig.
They get very thirsty.
Just as Peppa starts watering, Daddy Pig arrives and she sprays water all over him.
Oops, sorry, Daddy. You look thirsty,
giggles Peppa. Ho ho ho, laughs Daddy Pig.
Look, Grandpa,
cries Peppa.
the birds are eating our seeds.
Daddy Pig waves his arms around.
Wow, Daddy,
gasped Peppa, watching the birds fly away.
You're amazing.
He can't do that all day, says Grandpa Pig. Let's use this Scarecrow instead. After the Scarecrow scares the birds away, Peppa and George wait for their seeds to grow.
Grandpa,
sighs Peppa.
Nothing's happening.
Oh, ho, 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 laughs Grandpa Pig. Farmers have to be patient, Peppa. Plants take time to grow. Over the next few weeks and months, Peppa and George watch their vegetables grow. And grow. And grow. And grow. By the end of the summer, the vegetables are ready to harvest. It's about time, says Daddy Pig. Watching everything grow has made me very hungry. Peppa and George have lots of fun harvesting their crops.
We're real farmers, just like you, Grandpa,
cheers Peppa. After a busy day on their farm, Grandpa Pig helps Peppa and George make dinner using some of their vegetables. Now our tummies are growing too, Peppa, says Daddy Pig. Everyone laughs. Everyone loves Peppa and George's farm. The end. Peppa visits the Australian Botanical Gardens. Peppa had flown to Australia to visit her friend Kylie Kangaroo.
Wow!
Did you tell them we were coming? Asked Mummy Pig. No, I thought you did, said Daddy Pig, ringing the doorbell. Mr. Pig, said Mr. Kangaroo, opening the door. What an amazing surprise. You said we should visit if we were passing again, said Daddy Pig. Yeah, for sure, said Mr. Kangaroo. Kylie and Mrs. Kangaroo came to say hello. Joey Kangaroo popped his head out of Mrs. Kangaroo's pouch and waved his toy crocodile.
Crocodile!
He said.
Dinosaur!
George growled back. We were just going to the botanical gardens, said Mr. Kangaroo. Did you want to join us? Yes, please, cheered Peppa and her family. On the journey, Kylie told Peppa all about the botanical gardens.
There's a rock garden, a desert track, a rainforest dome, a nature reserve, and the best bit,
said Kylie. Why don't you leave the best bit as a surprise, said Mr. Kangaroo.
Okay, Daddy,
said Kylie.
You'll love the gardens, Peppa. They're wild.
Wow.
I can't wait, said Peppa. You don't need to, said Mrs. Kangaroo. We're here. The first area to explore was a rock garden. These rocks are so big, gasped Peppa. I wish we had them at home. Let's go across the wibbly-wobbly rope bridge, said Kylie. Wibble wobble, sang Peppa and Kylie as they skipped along the bridge. Joey crept towards Daddy Pig with a toy crocodile. Stop! shouted Joey. Ah! cried Daddy Pig. Don't worry, Daddy Pig. There aren't any crocodiles around, said Mr. Kangaroo. In this garden, at least. He looked over at Kylie and winked. At the other end of the wibbly-wobbly rope bridge was the outback desert track.
Wow.
We have to hop along the track and find the gum tree, said Kylie. But how do we know what the gum tree looks like? asked Peppa. It has a shiny silver trunk, explained Kylie. And it's the only tree in the whole track.
Wow.
Ooh, said Peppa. Ready, steady, go, shouted Kylie. Peppa and Kylie ran across the desert track to the gum tree. It's a bit hot here, panted Daddy Pig. Well, we are in the desert, said Mummy Pig. Peppa loved the silver gum tree. It's so shiny, she said. I wish we had one at home. Is this a surprise, Kylie? No, said Kylie. I love the gum tree, but it's not the best bit. The next part of the gardens was inside a big glass dome.
Wow.
This is the rainforest dome, said Kylie. We have lots of rainforests in Australia. Wow, gasped Peppa, gazing up at the tall trees. Why is it called a rainforest? Because it's a forest, said Kylie. And it rains a lot. Ah, said Peppa. But it's not raining now. Let's push the big buttons and see what happens, said Kylie. Kylie and Peppa pushed the buttons and suddenly, pitter-patter, it started to rain. I love rainforest domes, said Peppa. I wish we had one at home. A room with warm rain, said Daddy Pig. We do need one at home. We have one, Daddy Pig, said Mummy Pig. It's called the shower. Is this a surprise, Kylie? asked Peppa. No, said Kylie. Rainforests are brilliant, but this isn't the best bit. Bring, bring. Suddenly, there was a loud bring. Oh dear, what was that? asked Mummy Pig. Don't worry, said Mrs. Kangaroo. That was a bellbird. Their calls can be a little alarming. Oh, I see, Mummy Pig shouted over the ringing. Is this a surprise, Kylie? asked Peppa. No, said Kylie. Bellbirds are great, but this isn't the best bit. Outside the rainforest dome was a nature reserve. This is a nice spot for lunch, said Mr. Kangaroo, whipping out a picnic. Mr. Duck-billed Platypus, gasped Peppa. So nice to see you again. She always finds us when we have a picnic, said Kylie. After the picnic, Peppa and Kylie looked up at the trees. Let's pretend we're possums running along the branches at night, said Kylie, showing Peppa how to run like a possum. Look, whispered Peppa, spotting something in a tree. What's that? It's a koala, Kylie whispered back. She looks sleepy because she sleeps most of the day, and when she's not sleeping, she's munching leaves. She's so cute, said Peppa. Is this the surprise, Kylie? No, said Kylie. Koalas are amazing, but they're not the best bit. Let's pretend to be koalas, said Peppa. Munch, munch, munch. I love koalas, said Peppa. I wish we had them at home. Come on, little ones, said Mrs. Kangaroo. It's time for...
Yikes! cried Daddy Pig. A crocodile!
It's not a real one, said Kylie. It's a crocodile slide, leading to the surprise. Ooh, said Peppa, climbing to the top of the slide. Then she slid down into a huge muddy puddle.
Wow!
This is the best bit, Peppa, yelled Kylie, landing in the mud. It's the best thing ever, cheered Peppa. After lots of slides down the crocodile into huge muddy puddle, it was time for everyone to go home. Did you like the gardens, Peppa? Asked Kylie. Yes, said Peppa. I loved them, and the best bit was the surprise. Crocodile, growled George. He loved the crocodile. Australian gardens have everything, said Peppa. I wish we could bring them home with us. I don't think they would fit on the plane, Peppa, said Mummy Pig.
We'll just have to come back and visit again, won't we? Said Daddy Pig.
Yes,
cheered Peppa and Kylie. Sure, said Mr. Kangaroo. Drop by any time.
Yeah, of course, said Mrs. Kangaroo. Any time.
Peppa loves the Australian Botanical Gardens. Everyone loves the Australian Botanical Gardens. The end. Peppa Pig, Peppa and George's Garden. Daddy Pig is sitting in his favourite sunny spot, reading a newspaper. What a perfect day for doing nothing, says Daddy Pig. The only thing that could make it better would be a cup of tea. He goes inside the house to make one. Grandpa Pig has come to see Peppa and George. You're going to have your very own flower garden, he tells them. Peppa and George are very excited. We need a nice sunny spot to plant your seeds, says Grandpa Pig. Grandpa Pig finds the perfect sunny spot and starts to dig Peppa and George's garden. When the garden is ready, Peppa and George will plant their seeds.
Hooray!
Oh, gasped Daddy Pig. What's going on?
We're making a flower garden, says Peppa.
But that's where I sit in my chair and read my newspaper, cries Daddy Pig.
Flowers are more important than chairs and newspapers,
says Peppa. It is time to plant the seeds.
Look, Daddy,
cries Peppa.
Wow!
Peppa has lots of flower seeds. George only has one flower seed, but it is a big one. Some birds have come to see what Peppa and George are doing. They start to eat the seeds.
Shoo, shoo,
calls Peppa.
Leave our flower garden alone.
Daddy Pig gets some water to help the seeds grow. As soon as they see Daddy Pig, the birds fly away.
Daddy scared the birds,
cheers Peppa. Grandpa Pig laughs.
Daddy Pig looks like a scarecrow.
Peppa, George, bath time, calls Mummy Pig.
But what if the birds come back?
asks Peppa. Don't worry, Peppa. I'll make sure the birds don't eat the seeds, says Daddy Pig. The birds come back again. Luckily, Daddy Pig is there to scare them away.
Hooray!
Shoo, shoo, naughty birds, cries Daddy Pig. Daddy Pig guards the seeds until the birds have gone to bed. He is a very good scarecrow. It is 1 week later. Peppa, George, come and look, calls Daddy Pig.
The seeds have grown, says Peppa. My flowers are so pretty.
And George's plant is very tall, says Daddy Pig.
It's a beanstalk,
cries Peppa.
It goes all the way up to a giant's castle.
Ho, ho, ho. No, Peppa, says Daddy Pig. It's a flower, but it does go quite high.
George's flower is taller than our house, says Peppa.
Wow.
George has grown a sunflower, explains Grandpa Pig. Sunflowers are very tall plants. Well done, George, says Grandpa Pig.
And well done, Daddy, says Peppa. You were a great scarecrow.
The end. Peppa Pig and the Vegetable Garden. Peppa Pig and her little brother George are playing at Grandpa Pig and Granny Pig's house. They love to help Grandpa Pig in the garden.
What are you doing, Grandpa Pig?
asked Peppa.
I'm planting seeds. What happens to the seeds?
They grow into plants. I make a small hole in the ground, put the seed inside and cover it with earth. Then I water it. Everything in my garden grows from seeds like this.
Wow.
Ouch, says Grandpa Pig. An apple fell on his head. Peppa and George laugh. Grandpa laughs too. Look, he says, inside the apple are more seeds.
To grow more apple trees,
says Peppa.
I want to plant a seed,
Peppa says. She makes a little hole and puts a seed in it. Then she covers the seed with earth. Grandpa lets her water it. Now we wait for it to grow, he says. Peppa waits. George waits. They wait and wait and wait.
It's not doing anything,
says Peppa. Grandpa Pig laughs. You have to be patient.
Ah! What's this?
says Peppa.
It's a monster! Monster!
says George. Grandpa Pig laughs. It's just a little snail. Arr, says George. Monster! He likes a snail.
Let's play snails,
says Peppa. Grandpa Pig finds some baskets for Peppa and George, and they play snails in the garden.
Look, says Peppa, a butterfly. Why do butterflies love flowers?
They drink from flowers, says Grandpa Pig.
Wow.
They drink the flower's nectar. It's their food.
Look at me, I'm playing butterfly,
Peppa shouts. George wants to be a butterfly too.
No, George, I am a butterfly. You can play worm.
George doesn't want to play worm. Come on, George, says Grandpa Pig. Playing worm is fun. Grandpa Pig shows George how to lie on the ground and wiggle. Soon Peppa wants to play worm too. Grandpa plants some more seeds. He drops them on the ground. But when he turns around, a little bird is eating them. Shoo, shoo, says Grandpa. Granny Pig comes to see. We need a scarecrow, she says. Grandpa Pig brings Peppa and George to his garden shed. We'll find lots of things in here to make a scarecrow with, he says. He finds sticks, string, some straw, and an old sack. They build the scarecrow, then dress it in some old clothes. Peppa and George paint a face. The birds see the scarecrow. They stop eating Grandpa's seeds.
The birds look sad, says Peppa. They must be hungry.
Granny Pig brings out a bird feeder.
Lunchtime, birds,
she calls. Mummy Pig and Daddy Pig have come. Granny Pig needs blackberries to make a pie for lunch. Everybody wants to help.
This blackberry bush has been here since I was a little girl, says Mummy Pig.
Mummy Pig climbs a ladder to get to the berries at the top. Oh no! Mummy Pig falls into the bush. Where is she? Mummy Pig is okay, but she looks like a berry bush. Peppa and George pick berries from the mummy bush. Grandpa Pig, Peppa and George finish picking vegetables for lunch.
Hooray!
They make a salad. Granny Pig cuts up a cucumber.
I love cucumbers, says Peppa.
Yuck, says George. He doesn't like salad. Grandpa has an idea. He gives George a new plate.
Dinosaur,
says George. He eats the salad. He likes it. He loves Granny Pig's blackberry pie too. Yum! The end. George's woolly hat. Peppa and George are spending the day at Granny and Grandpa Pig's house.
hooray!
George is wearing a new woolly hat.
Wow!
Don't get your new hat muddy, George, says Mummy Pig. We promise not to get George's hat muddy, says Grandpa Pig. Peppa and George are playing in the garden. It is a very windy day. Hold on to your hat, says Peppa. Wah! Cries George as his hat sails up into the sky. Catch it, George, shouts Peppa. George chases his woolly hat right through the mud.
George, you are all muddy,
cries Peppa. But George's hat is still clean. The wind blows his woolly hat across the garden. Oh no! George's woolly hat is caught in a tree.
I'll get it down for you,
says Peppa. Grandpa Pig and George watch as Peppa climbs up the tree. Perhaps I should help, says Grandpa Pig. Oops, cries Peppa. Poor Peppa has fallen from the tree and landed in the mud. I see two little piggies who need a bath, says Grandpa Pig. Next time, George's hat blows onto some reeds in the pond. Luckily, your hat is still clean, George, says Grandpa Pig. He grabs a stick and reaches across the pond. Don't fall in, says Peppa. I know what I'm doing, Peppa, replies Grandpa Pig. Splash! Grandpa Pig falls into the pond. That was a silly thing to do, says Granny Pig.
We were trying to get George's hat back, Granny,
says Peppa.
Where is George's woolly hat now?
asks Granny Pig. Granny Pig spots the hat.
Hooray!
It has landed on a spade, on a pile of stinky manure. If you walk on that manure, you'll sink, warns Grandpa Pig.
Hush, Grandpa Pig. I have no intention of sinking, says Granny Pig, laughing. Carefully, Granny Pig climbs over the manure until she reaches the woolly hat. Got it! She cheers, but then Granny Pig falls over and lands in the heap of stinky manure. Ooh, smelly, Granny, says Peppa. Grandpa Pig, Peppa and George start to giggle. Mummy Pig arrives to collect Peppa and George. You promised not to let the children get muddy, cries Mummy Pig. Yeah, actually, we promised not to let George's hat get muddy, says Grandpa Pig. George's hat is the only clean thing, says Mummy Pig. The end. Peppa Pig, Grandpa Pig's greenhouse. Peppa and George are at Granny and Grandpa Pig's house. They race across the garden to find Grandpa Pig. Hello, Grandpa, shouts Peppa. George has found a ball and is playing with it. Careful, George, my greenhouse is made out of glass, which breaks easily, says Grandpa Pig. Grandpa Pig throws the ball out of harm's way. The ball goes over the fence and lands in Grandad Dog's garden. Oi! Who's throwing footballs at my greenhouse? Grandad Dog calls over the fence. Grandpa Pig goes to speak to Grandad Dog. Call that a greenhouse? It's a pile of rotten old windows, says Grandpa Pig. It'll grow more than you do with your fancy grass box, replies Grandad Dog. Grandpa Pig decides to leave Grandad Dog to his gardening. Could I have some tomatoes, please, Grandpa Pig? Asked Granny Pig. I'm afraid the tomatoes aren't ready yet, says Grandpa Pig. Maybe Grandad Dog will lend us some of his, suggests Granny Pig. Grandad Dog, calls Granny Pig. Do you have any tomatoes we could borrow? Borrow? You can take as many as you like, says Grandad Dog.
Hooray!
Everyone goes into Grandad Dog's greenhouse. They're a lot bigger than your tomatoes, Grandpa, says Peppa. They may be bigger, but that doesn't mean they are better, replies Grandpa Pig. Yummy! This is the best tomato I have tasted ever, says Peppa, tasting one. Says Grandpa Pig. Now Granny Pig has a basket full of delicious tomatoes. We're going to make a tomato salad, says Granny Pig. Grandad Dog tells her about his special tomato and basil salad recipe. The problem is I don't have any basil, says Grandad Dog. My grandpa had lots of lovely basil, says Peppa. Grandpa Pig shows them the basil he has grown in his greenhouse.
Wow!
Very impressive, says Grandad Dog. Peppa and George are feeling hungry now. Is it lunchtime yet? Asked Peppa. It's time to make the salad. First we slice up the tomatoes, says Grandad Dog. Then we use a little splash of olive oil. Don't forget to add these lovely basil leaves, says Grandpa Pig.
Time to tuck in, everyone, says Grandad Dog. Grandad Dog's tomatoes are marvellous, and Grandpa Pig's basil leaves are beautiful.
This is the best tomato salad in the world ever.
Cheers, Peppa. The end.
Hi kids, did you have fun watching this video? Then like and subscribe for more.